Hey everyone, what's going on? Coach Trev. I'm just getting everything set up. And of course, hold on, go back to that. All right, I know for those of you who got my notice, yes, this is a different time only because we have something else. I have something else scheduled, so hold on for a minute while I get everything all set up. Thank you for your patience. Let me know how your Friday is going. Okay. Oh, and let me turn this off as well. Forgive me. All right, let's go. And all right, so we have that. So we're live there. And let's just get one more thing going. So thank you so much for your patience. As I said, this is the process. I want to thank you all so much. Let's knock that out. Boom. And so if you've seen the topic here, hold on. All right, so let's make this change. Hey everyone. And we're just making a change here. Today's topic is the mirror doesn't lie. So we're going to look at 8 different mirrors, if you will. So 8 different mirrors that we all have. And so I want to make sure that I am going live correctly and effectively. All right. So that is good. Wonderful. All right. So that's good here. How's everyone doing? Usually I'm not live at this time, but I want to thank you all for amending your schedule so that you could come attend with me. As I said, I like to be consistent in my lives. So at least to say that if I'm going to go live, I will go at least throughout those days and you'll see me. You'll also be learning something from me as well. So these are things that really what I do is I pass them on in this live event. Now, if you're looking for anything direct, something focused for you, feel free to message me. I have some free coaching sessions that I do, so you are more than willing to come through and send a message. I will respond accordingly. All right. So I just want to make sure that let you know that I am available. And for those of you that are seeing this for the first time, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to attend. So, I've been doing lives for quite some time. Usually, I go live at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but currently, I have a conflict. So this is the reason that I am going to be going live at this. I'm going live at this time. Hold on, just getting everything ready and get everything scheduled. And also letting some people know this is a great opportunity too. While, as I said, as I'm setting up here, is to let people know that yes, I am going live. And so, if you haven't told anyone, if you haven't let them know that I'm going live, we're looking at 8 mirrors that don't lie to us. And this is regarding our regarding our goals, regarding any achievements, any things, any thoughts have you had, whether it's you're a professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, this definitely applies to you. So just want to be sure that everyone has access and everyone is available here. So we've got a good topic here, and it's good on a Friday, you know. So on a Friday, and let me make sure. Okay, we're good. Let's close that, and let me also share this out. As I said, feel free to share this out. What this does as well is it increases the visibility of those. Anytime you share, you comment, you say hello, that really pushes this out. So we want to get this out to anyone that could use this information. If you know somebody that has a moment, maybe they're on lunch and they're just eating their sandwich and looking at something else, there's a time to come in to learn, to develop, to grow. And so I would encourage them to just come through and share. All right. So now that I have that out, I've got my water and I've got my notes. So let's just see if we have any comments here. No comments. All right, keep them quiet. I understand it's that Friday. You're ready. You're here to learn. Excellent. I am here to transfer some information to you. So, as I said, if you have any questions while I am doing this, just put them in the comments. If you want to ask privately, just send me a direct message and I will get back to you. All right. So I want to thank you all so much for taking the time out. And as I said, our topic today is the mirror doesn't lie. So really our focus today is I want to talk about something that we all use, but not everybody enjoys. And so it's it's a topic when you see the topic, you're wondering, the mirror doesn't lie. How does that impact me? How does that impact me as a professional, as an entrepreneur, as someone who needs some assistance, or whatever state that you're in? So, as I said, I'm talking about something that we all use, but not everybody enjoys. And what the topic is, it's a mirror. That's right, a mirror. So, when you think about a mirror, the one thing to think about this is that a mirror, it doesn't argue with you. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't care really how busy you are. Doesn't care what's going on in your life. The mirror is there, and what happens is that, hold on, I'm just trying to get my notes here. All right. And so it just simply, what a mirror does is it simply reflects what you are doing. That's what it does. It reflects what you're doing, who you are. You can be, and mind you, when it comes to a mirror, you can be mad at a mirror. You could be upset with the mirror. You could say, you know what? What is this mirror doing? Why am I even here? What's the purpose? You can blame the lighting in the mirror. You can blame your outfits. You can blame your clothes. You can blame all these things. But when it comes to it, it's that, I mean, you can change the angle, you can step back. Hey, Richard, thank you so much. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for joining. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. And bear with me, everyone. I'm just trying to get this down. Why is this? Okay, here we go. There we go. What I had to do is get, I was trying to just shrink everything so that I could see my notes and I could see everything. And it was being what it wanted to do. And so I want to say is basically when it comes to a mirror, you can step back, you can squint, you can add a filter strong enough to make you look like a cousin, but eventually reality is reality. All right. That's what it is. Thank you. That's what it is. It's your life is a mirror. And that's how life works. Your calendar, it reflects your priorities. Your bank account, that reflects really some of your financial decisions. Your relationships, they reflect how you communicate, how you connect and show up. Your health reflects many of your habits. And now this is important. Not everything happens in your life is your fault. It's not. So let's just put it there. Life happens. Life happens. Thank you so much for joining, Tracy. Thank you so much. Please share out the heart me's, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you in advance. So this conversation really that we're having today, it's not about blaming yourself for everything. Please, that's not the focus. It's about being honest about the areas where our choices or our habits and patterns are contributing to what we see. So, and you know me, Coach Trev, the accountability coach, if you haven't heard me. When I focus on accountability, I say accountability, it's not saying that everything is my fault. What accountability is saying to you says, what part of this situation belongs to me? If you think about it, that's a powerful question. That question, it gives you something to work with. Thank you. And you have a great day too. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for sharing out and all that. And so if everything's always somebody else's fault, really you don't have any power. You're basically simply waiting for everyone else to change. And some of these people are not changing. They've committed to being difficult since the 90s. You may be wanting to waiting a long time. So the mirror is useful because it brings the focus back to you. Now, the purpose of a mirror is not to shame you, not to embarrass you or make you feel defeated. The mirror helps you identify what's working, what's not working, and what needs to change and what deserves more attention. So today we're going to examine 8 mirrors. There are 8 areas of your life that may be telling you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it. And so as we go through them, don't immediately think about your manager, your employees, your children, your friends, or that one relative who definitely needs this message. It's not about, sending this out. This is really about, it's about reflection. So it's about looking at yourself. take what applies. Laugh when it's appropriate. Be honest when it's necessary. Because at the end of the day, the mirror does not lie, but it can help you change. All right. So are we all buckled up? Everyone good? We're going to get started on the 8 mirrors. So I just want to make sure that I've got everything here, and we are jumping right in. So what's the first mirror? The first mirror is, hey, Choctaw Rich, thank you so much for stopping in. Your calendar is a mirror. See, your calendar reveals what your mouth may be denying. Think about it. We often say something's important, but no, really, our calendar, it tells a different story. Because most of us, including myself, we have a list of priorities, right? So family, that's a priority. Health, faith, business, rest is a priority. I talked about it earlier today. If you are following my profile, you'll see I even talked about rest. I posted that up. That's one of my today's daily encouragement. Personal growth, relationships, all those are priority. The question is, does your calendar agree that these are priority? See, your calendar, it's one of the most honest documents in your life. It shows where your time actually goes. It shows what gets scheduled, what gets postponed, what gets protected. And so it shows whatever time you have left. And people say, I don't have time. And in many cases, what they mean is, I have not made time. Trust me, been there, done that. Now, when you say that, those are not always the same thing, because you may not have unlimited time. You have some influence over how your time is used. But what it is your calendar may reveal that other people's priorities are controlling your life. That's the thing. Think about that. See, it reveals that urgency is potentially replacing what's important. It can also reveal that you're constantly reacting instead of responding. When you look at your calendar, you might even reveal that there are times that you're overcommitted, where you say yes too quickly. Calendars, and I look at it, can have no margin. They reveal what's important, that things that are important to you might begin squeezed into whatever space remains. Amen. So if this exercise matters, the question is, where is it scheduled? If family matters, where is it protected family time? If your business matters, where is your focused development time? Right? So there are so many things that we schedule on our calendar. We schedule meetings, we schedule appointments, we schedule calls, all these different obligations we have. And then at the end of it all, we hope our goals somehow fit in around that. See, the thing I've learned and I pass on is that hope is not a scheduling system. It's not. It just is not. What matters must be protected. That's what counts. Because if it's not protected, then usually that space is going to be invaded. Somebody's going to request that time. Something urgent is going to show up. Another commitment kind of slides into that space. So before you know it, you turn around, your week is full. And you're busy, you're active, you handle a lot. But the question is, did you move on your most important goals? That's the thing that happens. Hey, Carla, did you move on your most important goals? See, a full calendar, it can still reflect a life that's unfocused. See, it's not just because you're busy, because busyness is not always productivity. And activity doesn't always mean that you're in alignment. See, your calendar can reveal those challenges. It also reveals those periods of avoidance. Some people, they stay busy because they think stillness is forcing them to, the stillness forces them to think. It forces them to confront, to reveal. People will fill every hour because they don't want to deal with one uncomfortable decision. They'll attend all these meetings to avoid a conversation. See, your calendar can expose exactly what you're avoiding. And so it shows what you value. So now the goal of your calendar, it's really not about scheduling every minute. It's to make sure your calendar reflects the life you say you want. So it's a reflection. That's why I say your calendar is a mirror. Because when it comes to your calendar, you need time for work, time for your health, time for relationships, time to rest. Now, if you don't have any space to breathe, eventually your life basically becomes managed by emergencies. So look at your calendar honestly. Ask yourself, is your schedule building the future you say you want, or is it simply helping you survive the present? That's the question. Because trust me, there's some calendars I see, they look less like a schedule, more like a cry for help. So you got to ask yourself, does the calendar reflect your priorities? If this is landing, put a one into the chat. Put a one into the chat. And definitely for those who are watching, please share this out. That would be great. Repost it, all that fun stuff. All right, let's go. So now let's continue on. The next calendar is, hey guy, thank you for joining. Your bank account. Hey, Miss Tabitha, your bank account is a mirror. See, money can reveal your priorities, your habits, and patterns that your words hide. That's the truth of it. It can reveal all of those things. And when you think about it, if when it reveals that, it's really telling. So that's one of the key things, is that it's really telling. So let's think about it. When you're thinking about your goals, money is it's an emotional thing. You think about, okay, these are the steps that you want to take. These are the things that you're doing. Yep, thanks for the repost. It's a revealing topic, because what happens is your bank account, it doesn't tell the entire story of your worth. You know, I want to remind you all that your identity, it's not your income. The low balance, if you've got a low balance, doesn't mean that you're a failure. It And a high balance doesn't mean that you're wise, because financial circumstances, they vary, because people face layoffs, there's medical expenses, family emergencies, there's all these economic conditions matter, because and starting over is a real thing. So that bank account, it's not about judging people by a number. It's about looking and examining about your financial habits. So your bank account, it can reveal whether you plan or not. It can reveal whether you save, whether you spend emotionally. It can reveal, like, if you avoid looking, whether your lifestyle is growing faster than your income. Mm. Now, there are some people that are financing an image that they just simply can't afford. And you see them online a lot of times. They look wealthy. They look like they got everything together. Their bank, they look the part. They have that. You see what's in the background. But the challenge is their bank account is somewhere asking for prayer. So stress spending is a real thing. You've got to look at this. There are purchases that people make that are about their mood. Celebration spending is real. People will spend based on how they feel, based on their celebration. Late night online shopping, that's a dangerous one right there. If you think about it, late night online shopping, at 1 a.m., everything looks necessary. And by the time that package arrives, you don't even remember ordering it. You have to think about it. So financial awareness, when you think about it, it really requires you looking, because you can't manage what you refuse to examine. Hmm. I'm just checking here. All right. And so now something just popped up here. And so I'm just wondering, all right, let me go back to my notes. Here we go. All right. So when it comes to your finance, when it comes to your bank account, it's about financial accountability, and that begins with awareness, because you've got to know what's coming in, what's going out, what's recurring. You've got to know what's unnecessary and know what's helping your future. So there are some expenses you think, well, I just bought this. I just bought this bottle of water. I just bought this. No, everything matters. Small expenses matter. Large decisions matter. You've got to know what's helping your future and what's quietly draining you. See, your bank account also reflects your boundaries. You got to ask yourself, are you constantly rescuing people? Are you carrying a responsibility for someone else? See, generosity, it's valuable, and so is wisdom. And helping people shouldn't require you hindering or hurting yourself. So you've got to be mindful of that. You know, you got to ask yourself when you think about your finances, do you have a savings goal? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you understand debt? Are you investing properly? You know, planning, when you plan, it's not about being pessimistic, it's about being responsible. See, your financial mirror can also reveal underinvestment because some people spend easy on entertainment, but they'll hesitate to invest in the growth of their finances. That's the challenge of it. And so they'll spend hundreds on a temporary pleasure, but really, when it comes to spending on education and coaching tools or health, they'll pause on that. They'll think about this. Now, as I said, this is not about never enjoying your life. You know, enjoy your life, buy something nice, take that trip, but don't let every desire become an emergency. That's what's important. It's about financial maturity, and that financial maturity includes delayed gratification. Your bank account, it reflects more than money. It really reflects your patience. So, you've got to look at your bank account and say, what is it reflecting? Hopefully is it reflecting planning, boundaries, impulse control, maybe preparation. You've got to look at it without shame because shames make people hide, but accountability, that helps people to change. So it's not about looking at your account and having to judge you, but it's definitely something that remembers everything. Okay. So that's the second mirror right there, is your bank account. All right. Everyone good? All right. Definitely continue to share this out. Continue to have that. Let me make sure everything is good. All right. So let's go. Let's continue on. Your third mirror is your health. So your body often speaks about your habits way, way after things whisper. What I mean by that is that your habits reflect your routines. They reflect the stresses. They reflect your nutrition. They reflect how you take care of yourself. So let's get into it. Because when we talk about health, it's not a simple thing because health is complex because not every illness is caused by a bad habit. You got to think about it. Genetics, they matter. Medical conditions matter. So accidents happen, aging, all these things happen. If you have a lot of stress in your life, a lot of life stress events, that affects your body. So when you think about it, it's not about blaming everyone for a diagnosis. It's really about examining choices we can influence. See, all of our bodies gives us information. If you feel tired, if you're feeling pain, that's information. If there's constant tension in a particular area of your body, that's information. Poor sleep, lack of energy, if there's some irritability, if you've got difficulty concentrating, all those things are information you're receiving. And so as you're thinking about it, um, we we can ignore those early signs. Why? Because we're thinking, oh, this is just something I can deal with. So we push through. We'll say we deal with it later. We normalize feeling. I know a relative that has had a daily headaches. Nothing subtle. Nothing crazy, but they've had daily headaches for over a decade. And it's something that they've normalized. That's not healthy. It's really about being aware of it and not making it part of your well-being, because it's not well-being, it's unwell-being. Because we begin to you think of it as a personality trait, because some people haven't felt rested in so long that they call it normal. And so the thing we want to remember is that our bodies keeps records. It notices the lack of sleep. It notices the stress, the constant pressure. It notices when we never slow down. And so the point is that we cannot live in emergency mode forever. Your body is eventually going to send you a notice. And your health thing, that health requires attention before it becomes a crisis. So we've got to remember the things that matter: preventative care, medical appointments, sleep, hydration, nutrition, stress management. All those things matter. See, people often, here's the thing, it's like Anyone, if you've ever traveled, you travel, you stay in a hotel, you get a rental, and there's that rental car. All right. Now, many times people will treat our bodies like that. We know when we know it's a rental car, oh, we go hard. We're taking hard turns, we're air blasted because it's a rental. You use it hard, and then because you're going to give it back, and someone's going to fix whatever might have been out of whack or broken or misaligned or what have you. You hit that curve, all that. So the thing about it is, you have to remember this is the only body you have, so you need to take care of it. It doesn't require you to be perfect, but it does require you to be consistent. See, it's not about having one healthy meal, because that one healthy meal is not going to transform everything. It's not going to remove everything. You've got to develop patterns. You can't, you don't have to become a professional athlete. You just may need to walk more, to stretch more, to drink more water, to, follow some medical advice. You've got to find out what is harming you and reduce that. You got to understand too, as I talked about rest too, that rest is not laziness. See, recovery is strategic. It's part of your performance. Even high performers that are out there, many people, they often struggle with rest because they'll think that, if I slow down, I'm falling behind, it's lazy. But if you're exhausted, it doesn't help you to make strong decisions. It affects your patience, your focus. It can affect your creativity, your self-control. So your health impacts everything else. Your relationships, even if you're a parent, if you have kids, that impacts your relationships with your kids. So you really want to be mindful about that. You've got to say, okay, if I'm building something, if you're creating a space, creating a world, a home, your health is going to impact your ability to enjoy it. So you've got to ask yourself, what's the point of building a life if you're too depleted to live it? All right. So you've got to listen for the whispers that your body is giving you, because if you don't hear the whispers, eventually those things, they become a shout, and you want to be mindful of that. So, your health, that's the third mirror. All right. Everyone good so far? We good? All right. Let's go. Put a one into the chat if you're good. One into the chat. All right. Okay. I'm just moving my notes here just to make sure everything is good. Okay. Ooh. Good. All right. The fourth mirror is your relationships. All right. So out of the when I said the mirror doesn't lie, the fourth relationship is your relation. The fourth mirror is your relationships, because the quality of relationships, what they do is they reflect our boundaries, our communication, and emotional response. They basically, your relationships reveal who you are, because it's easy to believe that you're patient when nobody out there is testing your patience. No, it can easily believe that, oh yes, I communicate very well when there's no one that disagrees with you. Relationships really, they show us ourselves. They reveal like how we listen, how we respond. Relationships can reveal how we handle conflict, how we forgive, how we communicate our needs. See, the relationships we have, they reflect certain patterns. The question is, are those same conflicts repeating? Do people describe me in similar ways? Do I feel misunderstood in every relationship? You got to ask yourself, do you expect people to read your mind? Are you avoiding any difficult conversation until you feel resentment? Because many people do that. They'll avoid a difficult until resentment builds up and it explodes. See, there are some people that are upset because others didn't meet certain expectations that were never communicated. Been there, done that. So definitely speaking from experience. The expectation existed, but the conversation didn't. See, that's a difficult arrangement. See, and people, they can't consistently meet standards they don't know exists. So when it comes to this relationship, communication matters. The clarity, listening, all of those things matter. Now, your relationships, they can reveal whether you create safety, because people can ask, do they trust you? Can they be honest with you? Are they able to agree with you and bring up concerns without people fearing how you react? Do people feel heard around you, or simply do they wait for you to finish talking? See, What I've learned is that listening, it's not silent preparation for your next sentence. It requires your attention because you're taking in what they say, you're processing it so that you're able to respond effectively. And that response may be silence, that response may be a head nod. So you've got to listen and say, what am I doing with this? Now, your relationships, they can also reveal if you have any weak boundaries. Like, are you constantly overgiving? Are you rescuing people? Are you resentful at times because of relationship? See, resentment is a hidden thing because it builds privately. It builds on the inside. And it a resentment really grows where boundaries should have been. Like, you might be blaming people for crossing the line you never clearly established. See, when you set up a boundary, you don't want to think of it as a wall. Boundaries are, think of it as instructions so that there's going to be healthy access back and forth. So that's what you want to think of as boundaries. You also want to think your relationships as they can reflect what you tolerate. See, you teach people, when we communicate, you teach people what's acceptable through what you repeatedly allow. Doesn't mean like you control a person, it just means you control your participation. You control your response, your access. What are the things that you normalize? See, our wounds, any wounds that we have, can create present reactions. If we have some old wounds, things we're holding on to, they can come up suddenly like that. Somebody makes a small mistake, and your response carries, I don't know, 10 years of emotion. That right there is a clue. So it's not, so you've got to be sure that you're healing effectively, because when you're healing, it's not forgetting. Healing, it's basically reducing the power the wound has over your current behavior. All right. So you've got to ask yourself, when it comes to relationship, what part belongs to you? Do you communicate clearly? Are you listening? Do you speak respectfully? Or if someone disagrees with you, do you punish them? You withdraw? Are you keeping score? Now, when it comes to accountability, accountability really improves relationships because it gives people something constructive to work with. See, just because you have a strong relationship doesn't mean that there's no conflict. It's not about having relationships that are conflict free. It's about being honest enough to handle the conflict in a excellent manner. No. So this is what you do. Look at the people that's closest to you. When are those relationships reflecting? What are they reflecting? Are they reflecting connection? Do they reflect trust? Do they reflect support? Or do they reflect resentment? Like, you know, some hidden tension, some distance. So that's the mirror you want to look at, because it may show you something that's encouraging, but the relationship mirror can also show you something that needs repair. Either way, it's on us to pay attention. So that's one of the key things. So you've got to ask yourself, what do your closest relationships reveal about you? All right. That's key. Now, let's continue on. The fifth mirror, out of the mirror doesn't lie. So let me just check here. I just want to check one thing. All right. All right, we're good. Let's check this here. All right, so that's good there. Yep, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay. Now, the fifth mirror that we're going to talk about, out of the mirror doesn't lie, is your attitude. See, what your attitude does is it reflects the meaning. It reflects the meaning you repeatedly assign to your environment. Now, when I say attitude, I don't mean pretending that everything's wonderful. And it's not just about everything is great, everything is excellent, about positive thinking. No. Thinking positive, it's not denial. It's basically what it is you're acknowledging difficulty and you still choose your response. Because when it comes to your attitude, you can be disappointed without becoming defeated. There are times where you may be frustrated with the situation. Doesn't mean that you become bitter and you hold it on. So your attitude reveals really what you repeatedly focus on. So Think about this. Do you naturally look for what's wrong, what's missing? Are you always asking who failed and why it won't work? Because there are those people out there, and you know those people. They may be around you, they may be in family or what have you, within your inner circle or outer circle. There are some people that can find a cloud in every silver line that's out there. You tell them something good, they immediately find a problem. They're like, that sounds great, but there's always a but. So sometimes that but is so large it has its own zip code. All right. So think about it. When it comes to that mirror of attitude, it's your attitude that affects your energy. It affects your relationships, your opportunities, how people experience you. Your attitude, it can also affect how you respond to setbacks, because two people can experience the same challenge and then they interpret it differently. And so when they do that, one will say, this is the end, it's a wrap, it's over. Another one can say, you know what, this is difficult, but I can learn from this. So you've heard that dichotomy, that back and forth, where it says someone will say nothing ever works. Another approach will say, you know what? Someone will say, all right, well, this way didn't work. What can I do to adjust? So your stance matters. Your language matters too. The words you repeat, they really become the actual lens that you use. So you've got to be careful with using, I'd say, using absolute language. Like when you use always, never. Use things like everybody or nothing. Everything is, nothing. I don't even want to say it. When you say no thing works or every single thing is against, see, those statements really, they can turn what you see as a temporary frustration, and that can become part of your identity. You know, and you're when you so when you're using those words, then really it's an insight into that you may have what's called victim thinking. And victim thinking says, don't have any choice. But if you have accountability, it says my choices may be limited, but what can I still do? When you ask, like, what can I still do regardless of the situation you're in, it's it says that the question gives you back your power, and that's what you're looking to take your power back. So when you think about it, your attitude is going to require growth. It's not about being entitled, saying this should be easier, people should understand. You've got to be patient. you know there's a process for it. There's the repetition, humility. So you've got to think that you've got to remember, when it comes to your attitude, one of the biggest components that can help you is gratitude. Being grateful for the things you go through, being grateful. It's not about being perfect, but recognizing what's still good in your life. So having an attitude of gratitude, and that's the attitude that you want contagious. You want that to be contagious. One of gratitude, one of humility, one of confidence, one of a giver, one who adds value. Because at the end of it, all attitudes are contagious. Gratitude is contagious, but so is negativity. So you want to focus on being hopeful, being courageous, being calm, because all attitude is contagious, and you want those to be proponents of it. So you got to ask yourself, what are people catching from you when you're into a room? What arrives? Are you encouraged? Do you have peace, or are you coming to critique? So in the end, your attitude is a mirror. It reflects what you've been feeding your mind, what you're watching, what you're reading, what you've been listening to. Be sure to protect your mental atmosphere. All right. So let's continue on. Now, if this is landing for you, put a yes into the chat. Put a yes into the chat. Or if you know somebody like this, somebody that this reflects, put a yes into the chat. All right. All right. We're good. We are good. Thank you. Continue to watch. Keep on watching. Thank you. Hold on. All right. So let's move on to the next thing. That's what it was. There was something I was doing. I was wondering why it wasn't reacting in such a way, and found out. So it's all good. All right. Let's continue on. What's the next mirror? What number are we on? We're on number 6. That's right, number 6. Hey, Tracy, thank you so much for watching. Your habits are a mirror. So, habits are small mirrors. What they do is, I've learned habits reflect what we do automatically. They show what becomes normal. And it's not about just the one decision, it's about the repeated decisions that shape us. Like, even though everyone wants to be disciplined, we don't become disciplined after one day or 2 days. We don't become healthy after one difficult day. We've got to look up patterns because our patterns matter and small actions, they become the large outcomes. 10 minutes of reading adds up. That's what I've been doing every night. 10 minutes of reading. Um, 10 minutes of avoidance, they also add up. So saving small amounts add up, and so does spending amounts. Walking daily, all that, those are great things. Walking daily adds up. Sitting constantly also adds up too. So you got to look at those things here. Um, keeping your word to yourself, building up self-trust, that adds up. Now, if you're constantly breaking small promises to yourself, sadly, that adds up as well. See, our habits reveal what we truly believe. We may say health matters, but our habits show whether we support it. Whether we say our goals matter, our growth matters, and peace matters. The question is, do our habits protect it? Do they show what we've learned? Do they show what we put important in our day? So it's not. So when we come to it and we realize that habit is a mirror, habits can carry us way further than those of us that are looking for motivation. Because I see it a lot. People want me, well, I need to be motivated. I'm looking for a motivational saying. I'm looking for something that's going to keep me on track, keep me aligned. The challenge is this, is that motivation fades because it is short-term by nature. It's not dependable. It's the habits that carry you when motivation finally leaves. It's motivation that gets you to the gym, but it's the habit that makes it you use it on a consistent basis. Your habits, and they also reveal, and I got to step back on this one. They reveal when you keep negotiating with yourself. Like, for instance, let's say you say you'll start at 8 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock comes, you may still be tired, and you're like, you know what? Let me push it to 8:30. Let me push it till 9. And then you think about, what about tomorrow? Maybe that has more potential. See, when you repeatedly negotiate with yourself, it weakens your self trust. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, that builds confidence. So you got to think about building confidence in yourself. You know, Accountability and that self confidence, that self trust, that builds accountability. And accountability starts privately. When no one's checking on you, when no one's watching, when there's no deadline, no supervisor. It's the private habits that shape your public results. Straightforward. That's it. So when you think about it, your habits reflect your environment. You have got to think about, look around and say, what's easy, what's difficult. You know, is my phone a distraction, or does it help me focus? See, habits they're easier when the environment supports them. You've got to have the right environment. You can't depend upon willpower. The best bet you can do is build structure, remove any friction, add reminders, create routines. All these things I do as when I coach clients. Um, you've got to track your progress. Start small. Don't start massively big. If you've never walked before and you say, all right, tomorrow I'm going to start doing 10,000 steps, no. Trust me, even myself, when I started doing steps, I started with 3,000 and I moved it up. Sometimes I moved it up to 1,000. I increased it by 1,500, but I didn't just go to 10. Your habit should be something that's repeatable, that you're able to do on a consistent basis. Now, there are some people who design routines for the person they wish they were, but the challenge is the real person has to live with them. So when you build a routine, you've got to be realistic. You got to build something that's sustainable. Your habits, they're not your permanent identity. They're the ones that can change and be updated. All right. So see habit as that mirror, because when habits change, they change when you repeatedly practice a different behavior. All right. So let's so understand this, that habits shape your results. But there's another mirror that many people overlook until something feels wrong. Now, that mirror, Number 7, the mirror that doesn't lie, that's peace. See, peace is the seventh mirror. So a lack of peace, what it does is it signals unresolved decisions. It signals that you may have weak boundaries. You've got some overcommitment, all these things. Now, when we talk about peace, it's not about the absence of responsibility or a life without problems. You know, you because you can have peace in difficult situations. Also, everything can look successful and still feel deeply unsettled. What peace does is peace can reflect alignment. I speak a lot about alignment. Peace reflects alignment. So ask yourself this: are you living in a way that agrees with your values? Are you saying yes when you want to say no? Are there some decisions that you're avoiding? Do you have any resentment, any fear, any unspoken expectations? See, those are the things that are often disturbing your peace. If you have any unresolved matters, then that's disturbing your peace. The conversations we keep avoiding, those are the ones that can cost you peace. The boundary you keep refusing to establish, that can cost you peace. The commitment, the truth that you don't want to admit, that's costing you peace. So go through your calendar, look and check. Are you overcommitted? Because every time you say yes to something, it adds weight. Every responsibility that you take on requires energy. And so when you look at your peace, it reflects what you consume. So it's not about having obligations so that peace can find an empty chair. It's about really you protecting your peace. So when it comes to your peace being a mirror, think about all the things that come into your ear gate and your eye gate: news, notifications, access. If you already always have that, then your mind never gets quiet. And when when it does get silent, it feels uncomfortable because you become accustomed to stimulation. So stillness it isn't wasted time. What it does is it allows you to hear yourself. It allows you to reflect, to pray, to think, to recover. So you've got to set up those boundaries to protect your peace. When you set up a boundary, it's not about eliminating love. It's about caring about someone without becoming responsible for every emergency that they have. So you've got to let that person go. You've got to let that desire go. That's what peace is about as well. It's letting go of the need of control, the need of old resentment, the need of winning every argument. You can't keep living in a certain way. And when you protect your peace, it's going to be uncomfortable. You know, it's a difficult choice to make when it comes to peace, because there are times when you have to have the difficult conversation, the honest conversation. You know, when you have that conversation, it may be one where that involves a boundary, a decision, a change, an ending. So because and when you're having those difficult conversations, what you're doing is you're removing avoidance. You're canceling that, because avoidance is temporary relief. But when you focus on resolution, that gives you a deeper peace. So ask yourself what could be disturbing your peace. It's not about numbing it. You've got to listen to what the unrest may be revealing, and it's telling you what needs attention. So that's your seventh mirror, peace. Now, the peace we talked about is how our inner life is aligned. Now, this final mirror that we're going to talk about, that's going to bring everything together. Our final mirror is results. Results is mirror number 8, because they don't tell the story, but they tell part of the truth. All right. Because when it comes to the mirror of results, results matter. Results, they're not your identity, they're information. Earlier when I talked about how when we talked about how health is a mirror, how a headache is information, how pain, how tension in your body, that's information. Same thing. Results are information. What they do is they they tell us what our current approach is producing. Now, the information, hopefully, it's encouraging. It may be uncomfortable. Either way, the goal is to use it. There are people that sometimes they avoid measuring because they're afraid of what the numbers will say. They don't track progress. They don't review their performance or check consistency, because They prefer the feeling of effort because effort matters, and results help you. But results help you evaluate your effort because you can work hard, but you may still need a better strategy. You can be passionate and still need better execution. You could be committed, but you still need feedback. Now, your results, what they do is they reveal gaps between knowing and doing. Like you know what to do, you can agree what to do, but question is, are you doing it? So, since the results are information, it's taking that information and applying it, making sure that that application happens. Because you can have all the information in the world, but if it's not being applied, then it's going to just be on the shelf. So you've got to be sure, are you starting off strong and disappearing? Are you do you keep starting? Is the problem staying with you? Are you pursuing so many things that none of it is getting enough attention? So your results can be that you may be scattered. So what you've got to do is when you look at the results and you get information, you've got to say, okay, let me refocus. Because what focus is going to do is focus helps you be more effective. Focus helps you to stop the avoidance. It helps you to say that you may be doing everything right except the action that creates the outcome. Making sense? when you look at your results can tell you sometimes you may need more discipline. You need a different method, you know, and your results can reveal if you have unrealistic expectations because you can't plant a seed on day one and expect by day five you got to plant. It's not going to happen. So think about that, is that when it comes to your results, that there's growth and growth has a process. So as you grow, you've got to ask yourself and evaluate, are your expectations realistic? Is the effort sufficient? Do I need to be more confident, healthier, all those things? So if you don't like the results you're getting, it's not about scrapping the whole thing. You've got to look at your pattern. You've got to adjust your behavior, change your structure. You can get support and keep moving, right? So those are the 8 mirrors that I wanted to talk about today. It's your calendar, your bank account, your health, your relationships, your attitude, your habits, your peace, and your results. Each one is telling you something. So your calendar tells you what receives your time. Your bank account, it tells you what receives your resources. Your health tells you how your body's responding. Your relationships, number 4, tells you how you connect and how you communicate. Now, your attitude tells you how you interpret life. Now, your habits, they tell you who you are becoming. Your peace tells you what you may be carrying or what you may be tolerating. And your results, they tell you what your current approach is producing. So choose one of the 8 mirrors. Don't choose all 8, because if you choose all 8, that's like attempting to lift a mountain, and you may be getting frustrated because of that. Choose one mirror and ask yourself, what is this area really reflecting? What part of this belongs to me? And what's the adjustment you can make? Be specific as possible. Don't say I need to do better. That's not a plan. Say I'll block 1 hour. I'll review my spending. I'll schedule an appointment. I'll track one result. I'll establish one boundary. See that oneness? When you have that one thing, then you have clarity. That clarity creates action, which creates evidence, which builds up your confidence. All right. So that's an important thing. This conversation that we had today, what it does is it connects closely to the themes of my second book. Because my book, The Doorways of Life, Volume 2, The Gates of Growth, what it does is it talks about growth. But growth requires truth. It requires really the willingness to look at what's in front of us, what's in front of you. Sometimes we want a different future without examining patterns, creating our present. We want better results without changing the habits. But growth begins when we stop arguing with the mirror, because the mirror is not our enemy. It's showing where the work is. So if you want information about my second book, send me a private message and I'll tell you how you can get a copy. And now there are times too when you can see that something's not working, but you really can't clearly identify what needs to change. That right there, that's where coaching can become valuable. As a coach, will help you examine the mirror and identify the pattern behind the result. A coach helps you clarify what belongs to you, and it also holds you. A coach holds you accountable once the excitement is gone and habits kick in. Now, if you really want to make that progress and would like to explore working with me directly, send me a message and let me know, because we can schedule a free coaching session. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and what's currently getting in the way. Now, as we close up, I just want to let you all know that the mirror at the end does not lie. Your calendar says something, your finances, your health, your relationships, your attitude, your habits, your peace, results, all those are saying something. So it's not about whether the mirror is speaking to you, it's about whether you're willing to listen. Now, when I say this, it's not about becoming defensive, it's about you becoming curious. It's about you not being ashamed, but becoming accountable. So as you go through these mirrors, don't attack yourself, adjust yourself. Don't try to change everything at once. Choose one area, make one decision, one meaningful action, then repeat it. It's not about being perfect, it's about being honest, intentional, and consistent. So remember, the mirror is not here to condemn you. It is there to show you what your next level requires. All right. So I want to thank you all so much for coming and adjusting your schedule. I appreciate it. And if I don't see you, which may not see you over the weekend, be sure that you have an excellent. Be sure you follow my profile for those times that I go live, and that I'm able to move effectively. So I do expect to go live back Monday, probably at 5 p.m. But if anything changes, be sure that you turn on your notifications so you post when I go there. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So I want to thank you all so much. I appreciate it. And I will see you all soon. As I said, if you have any questions, just send me a private message and I will get back to you. Thank you so much. Have an excellent, wonderful day.